Hello, I'm Dr. Ernest Reed, or just Ernest. At the time of making of this video, I am a teaching associate at Aston University and I've worked in various academic support and development roles with students from all disciplines at all levels in different UK universities. So, especially if you are a first year student and still getting your bearings regarding university life, this video is for you. Now, this may sound a bit trivial, but it is important to find the right place for you to do your prep. Some people may find it easier to study in a public space, while others, like me, need to find somewhere small, dark, and quiet. So make sure that you find a place where you feel comfortable and where you do not get distracted. And by distractions, I mean not just other people, but also objects. So organize your study space, make sure it's not cluttered, clear space, clear mind. And of course, unless you are expecting a call about something urgent, put your phone on silence so that you do not get distracted by social media and messenger apps. Your favorite football team's match results, a hot new mixtape drop, photos of your friends, outfits, latest funny cat videos, they can all wait. What is also important is knowing when to prepare for your seminar. Well, the obvious answer is before the seminar. But what about the lecture? Some new students think first you go to the lecture to be introduced to some key ideas, then you do the prep, the reading, then the seminar. Now, that could work if you have a lot of time in between your lecture and your seminar that you can dedicate solely to your prep. However, more often than not, lectures are almost immediately followed by seminars. In this case, you need to do your seminar prep before the lecture. This is actually even better because then you will be able to make the most of your lecture and use it as a place to confirm your understanding of what you have read so far and warm up your brain for the seminar. Furthermore, double check how much reading you need to do and decide whether you need 2, 4, 6, maybe 8 hours to prepare. Now, on to the main part, how to prepare for a seminar. By now, you have probably been introduced to your university's VLE, Virtual Learning Environment, which is your go-to place for everything that happens on your course. There are different VLE platforms. At Aston University, it is currently Blackboard. At UCL, we had Moodle. At other universities, there may be something else. Regardless of the platform, this is where you find all the information about your modules, the module booklets, the schedule with the weekly topics, the lecture and seminar slides, the module conveners, contact details, and most importantly, what you need to prepare for the seminar. Now, sometimes you may be set a specific task, in which case you just follow the instructions. At other times, there may be some texts you may have to read. You may have some core reading, which is what you absolutely must read, and the recommended reading, which you should also read because it may give you that extra edge for the seminar and potentially for your assignments and your exams further down the line. Sometimes there may be a direct link, but most of the time you will just have the name of the source, maybe the author's name. You can look it up on your university's library page, and you will get the index location of the physical copy where you can pick it up, or a link to an ebook or to a downloadable format like PDF. You may also find some sources by using a specialized search engine or even a general search engine like Google. Google Scholar is good. If you go to the publisher's website, you may have to use the institutional login, find your university on the list, and then you put in your student username and password. Now, let's talk about reading. To start off, You can quickly scan and skim read the text just to get the gist of what it is about, its structure, basically to get the idea of what to expect. Then you start reading. How you should read depends on the task at hand. If you have just been given a text to read without any specific instructions, then try to identify the key points of the text as you read. Ideally, break it down into sections, which in most cases the text would already be organized into. Then read one section while highlighting what you think is important and make notes on your laptop or in your book. Then take yourself through your notes, summarize what you have just learned, and then do the same with the next section. Another way of doing this is read the section, then close the book or the laptop. Try to summarize the main ideas by writing them down, maybe drawing if there are graphs, tables, diagrams, or saying them out loud. Then open the book or laptop, check what you have done, make amendments or corrections if necessary, then move on to the next section. There is also a slightly more complex version of this method called SQ3R, skim read, questions, read, recall, review. This is when after skim reading you turn the subsections titles into questions, then you read the section, recall what you have learned, answering the section's question, and review how accurately you have recalled the information. Then on to the next section. Whichever of these methods works best for you, once you have finished with every section, go through all of your notes. The most important thing is that you talk yourself through what you have learned to check that you understand, ideally all of it. Of course, it is perfectly normal that you may not grasp everything right away, in which case you can always email your module convener, lecturer, tutor, or speak to them on the day. It may also be a good idea to get together with your fellow students and exchange ideas on what you have read. Now, think of it as a study group. It may sound like being a bit too extra, but it is a good idea. Also, if you have been asked to answer a specific question or a set of questions, you can do it the same way. The only difference is that you will be looking for the keywords related to each of those questions as you read, highlighting and writing out all the relevant bits. And once you have reviewed them, you will need to think about how it relates to your question, write down your answers, and same as above, talk yourself through it to make sure that you understand what you are talking about. That's very important. Now, you may say that you had hoped there would be some easier way than just reading the whole thing. You may have heard something about diagonal reading, skim reading. Well, there is a time and a place for that, and I will touch upon that when I make a video about essay writing. However, when you are learning about something new while studying for your seminar, especially in the first year, you need to read. The good news is that you probably chose this course because you wanted to do this, to learn about this. You were excited about it, you are still excited about it, in which case it should be a fun thing, a fun challenge to enjoy. There may be some cases where the text may be too long for you to be expected to read it in 1 week, for example 100 pages, especially if your lecturer tells you about this. Then perhaps you can skim read and scan for relevant bits. However, most of the time you would be set something like an article that is only about 20 pages long or a chapter that is about 40 pages long at most. This is manageable. Just read it and make notes. If you come across any unfamiliar words, just look them up. Any search engine will provide you with links to entries in concise dictionaries. Write down the word and its meaning. You may even want to have a little vocabulary type notebook where you can write down all the new words you're learning. Maybe a good idea. If you come across some more complex sentences, arguments you do not understand, try to break them down and think what they might mean. If still struggling, you can always email your module convener, your seminar tutor, your lecturer. You can email them or see them on the day. What about AI, like ChatGPT, you may ask? Now, if it is an extremely long text, it may help you condense it to find the most relevant parts. However, even then, you will still need to go through those parts yourself. In fact, what I have noticed, at least for now, these AI apps do not always understand some of the academic language, especially if it's an old classic from a bygone era, not to mention the potential of a political bias in their selection process, depending on who owns or controls that technology. There are nuances to it, which I will talk about maybe in a different video, but to be on the safe side, it is always best to do the reading yourself. While it may sound a bit unusual at this stage of your studies, as this may be something you have not done prior to university, but while reading the text, try to analyze it critically. This applies to social sciences and humanities in particular, but this could be relevant in any discipline really. Think whether you agree with the claims made, with the logic, the reasoning behind it. Are they convincing enough? Is there solid evidence to back them up? Are there examples used appropriate? Are there any generalizations? Are some perspectives or aspects amplified while others left out? How do they relate to your knowledge and your personal experience? If it is a research paper, think whether the methods used were appropriate for the research objective. Finally, look at what company or state or organization funded this research. For instance, if an analysis of human rights in State A was sponsored by State A or State B that has some common or opposing interests with State A, this may be a little sus. Same for a project assessing health effects of some weapons funded by an arms manufacturer. To be honest, you may not be expected to dig that deep in your first year, but you may start thinking in this direction. Finally, look after yourself. Take breaks. Every 20 minutes, take a 2-minute break for your eyes. Look around, move around. Every 2 hours, take a longer break to eat, maybe to nap, and just in general, live. Eat as much as you need, socialize, take part in extracurricular activities. I mean, you are at university. There are so many student societies, clubs, events. You are bound to find something that you will enjoy. And of course, sleep. Try to get 8 hours of sleep every night, at least on weekdays. So, now you know how to prepare for your seminars. Get to it and enjoy. If you like, you can also watch my video on why you need to prepare for seminars. And there will be more to come, so feel free to like this video and subscribe. I wish you good, productive studies. See you soon. Take care.